guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a very interesting and entertaining article titled, Womb with a View, EctoLife Baby Farm Eliminates Pregnancy and Labor. And a big shout out to Magnus for sending me this article. And guys, this article is covering a possible future. A possible future where simply there is no longer any pregnancy by the traditional means, and where really men don't need women to have kids anymore, where babies are grown in pods at these fertility farms, if you will, kind of like what you would imagine with The Matrix or Star Wars Attack of the Clones. The little baby stormtroopers were in the pods that you Star Wars fans know I'm talking about here, something like that. And obviously that's not in development right now as far as we know, but this concept and technology, it could be a possible future. And that'll be a very entertaining one here to go over here, guys, because it's good to know what people are thinking about, talking about, what things that impact men. And you guys have heard probably plenty of times how the feminists like to talk about how women don't need men, and they can go on for all the reasons they don't, you know. But here's a situation where simply a guy who want to have children one day, well, doesn't need a woman, doesn't need to be married or anything like that. Now, as you can probably imagine, it's pretty creepy thinking about your child growing and developing in a pod like a fish tank where you watch in your room if you want to, because if you look at the pictures in this article, you'll see the concept pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about. But still, it's interesting. And it really boils down to men only really need women for two things, either to physical fun, if you will, or to give them children. But the future could be something like this, you never know, seriously. Or it could be also like Westworld, if you guys have seen that that series on HBO, where guys hook up with android women that look completely like human beings. You never know. That'd be a funny one to go over here. So it starts off, says here, the Ecto Life artificial womb facility envisions a controversial new way to be pregnant, with the baby growing in an idealized but completely inhuman environment. Transparent growth pods arranged by their hundreds in human baby farming operations. That is creepy as hell to imagine that. To be clear from at the outset, this is just a concept at this stage. The brainchild of Berlin-based producer, filmmaker, and science communicator Hashim Al-Ghalili. I think I'm pronouncing that right. There are no immediate plans to build an EctoLife facility. This is merely a piece of science fiction Al-Ghalili has extrapolated from the current state of fertility research. Yeah, well, how often does science fiction become science fact? Pretty much everything we have in our world, technology-wise, was once considered science fiction, if you really think about that. So, this isn't too out there that it could be in the future one day. 50 years, 100 years, you never know. It is designed to start a conversation and make an argument for a new model of parenthood that Al-Ghalili believes will be possible within years and widespread within decades. Al-Ghalili's argument goes something like this. Pregnancy is not fun. It can be exhausting, painful, nauseating, intrusive, inconvenient, and sometimes flat out dangerous for a mother. And there are all kinds of ways it can be suboptimal for a baby. If you're pregnant and you smoke or party or stress too much or catch certain diseases, or you simply don't play enough Mozart at the burgeoning belly, you might not be giving your child the best start you can. Well, even if they did have facilities like this, people still physically are going to be able to get pregnant. This is going to be obviously an option. But we'll come back to that later. The science isn't far off, says Al-Ghalili, for being able to replicate the ideal gestation conditions in a temperature-controlled, infection-free womb with a view. An artificial umbilical cord can provide oxygen and nutrition as the tot floats in artificial amniotic fluid, continually refreshed with precisely tailored hormones, antibodies, and growth factors. Baby waste products can be removed, run through a bioreactor, and enzymatically converted back into a steady and sustainable supply of fresh nutrients. Yummo. Again, this is both amazing and fascinating and gross at the same freaking time. But again, science fiction becomes science fact eventually. Little speakers can make sure the tyke is getting the best possible brain nutrition too. We're talking all the classical music it can handle, which may be more than the parents can handle, as well as your own soothing voice piped in as well to start building that invaluable bond. Vital signs will constantly be monitored, as rather forebodingly will physical defects and genetic abnormalities. Real-time data on your little Tagamouchi will pop up through a phone app, along with live HD fetus cam and the ability to scroll through time-lapse videos of your child's development, from embryo to 9 months. People there, imagine that they're out to dinner and they're looking at their iPhone or their Apple Watch, and there's young James growing there. Carry on with your dinner, and potentially beyond. Human babies are amongst the most helpless and underdeveloped in the animal kingdom. Why can't we pop out of the womb and take our wobbly first steps 5 minutes later like a calf does? It's because our brains are too big for the human female hip gap. We're born undercooked with soft, undercooked with soft, pliable skulls, several months behind other animals developmentally. But in the EctoLife Easy Womb, there's no such biological limit. You could experiment with much longer gestation periods. The results might be terrific. So they'll be growing superhumans. Bye-bye Homo sapiens. Now it's going to be the superhumans being developed here. If this all sounds a little impersonal, cold, and disconnected to you, Algalili has more technology to soothe your mind. Think you might miss the feeling of baby kicking? Boom. A haptic suit can bring the sensation back for any parent that wants it, and only when they want it. Notice he said any parent. He didn't say any woman. He said any parent. Of course, he has to be politically correct here. Well, we can debate on that one, about correctness. Want to see the beginning of life from your kid's point of view? Whack on a VR headset and tune into the 360-degree camera anytime you like. Good God. What's more, if you don't dig the idea of your precious bundle of joy being grown in a 400-pod baby lab at a baby farm boasting 75 of those labs and pumping out 30,000 babies a year, you can have a battery-powered pod installed in your own home. Heck, keep it there post-birth to get some little brothers and sisters happening. And this article actually has some pictures and concepts of the baby farm, which looks like something out of Attack of the Clones, or the bedroom where there's Junior developing in the pod next to your bed. I mean, imagine that. There's going to be no physical activity going on while you're watching Junior there developing in the freaking pod, looking like a fish tank there next to you. You might not have the same intensely human birthing suite experience as the billions of parents before you. But on the other hand, you'll arrive at your first day on the tough job of parenthood feeling physically fresh and well-rested. Instead of having been gradually weighed down and latched onto by a parasitic organism that tends to leave rather a path of destruction upon its exit, even in the best-case scenario. Given the option, I'm not sure some mums would choose to push a button and watch a little pod open up. Actually, I think a lot of women would probably do that, especially if they've gone through it once. And hell, the husband's dealing with the pregnant, sick all the time, miserable, bitchy wife that's pregnant. And no one can blame her for being bitchy when she's pregnant. If guys were carrying a little human in them for 9 months, they'd be a bit irritable too. It'll start out, Algalili feels, as the only option for certain parents, those who can't conceive or bear kids naturally. But as it's refined and proven, it'll become an option for all prospective parents, linking it easily with the IVF, genetic screening, embryo selection, genetic potential modeling, and genetic engineering we know is coming rapidly down the chute. It is amazing how fast technology advances, and as time goes on, you just look at the difference 10 years ago, guys, compared to the world we were 10 years ago versus now. And then you look at 20 years ago versus now. It is amazing, both amazing and scary, how fast technology can evolve. Once it's well developed and available, it might start looking like a pretty attractive option for folks that like the idea of a baby but can't see why they should have to go through the ordeals of pregnancy and childbirth to get one. Heck, you might not even need a day off of work. Just hold hands with your significant other after a day at the office. Head down to the baby farm and pop the lid on life as a parent. Ecto Life will even hook you up with a free genetic test to make sure you're not heading home with the wrong kid. Now here's a question. How much is this going to cost? How much will it cost to do all this? Have the baby in the farm, the baby farm and all that? That I'd like to know. That's the argument, in a nutshell, for growing your kids in an artificial nutshell. You can explore it in more detail in the extraordinary video below. I'm going to post a link to the article, and you guys can read this, see the pictures, and see the video below. I'm not going to lie. I find this concept pretty twisted, inhuman, and dystopian. Well, you're still talking about it. But given the Matrix reminiscent layout of the Ecto Life facility and a certain Paul Verhoeven-esque quality in the narration, one gets the impression Al Galili wants to provoke strong reactions. You think? I can only imagine from the religious community about this whole thing. At the end of the day, if I search my heart, I've got 2 kids that I feel very connected with and close to, and I didn't have to go through pregnancy or labor. I left that bit to my wife, so I'm hardly in a position to criticize the idea. We'd be fascinated to hear your thoughts and comments below. So yes, it wouldn't be a good article like this without having some comments for me to read. But I will say this again. You never know, guys. That could be the future. I'm 45, so this could be going down in 30 years when I'm 75, or 40 years when I'm 85. You never know. And I think there'll be a lot of people that would actually do this. But again, there boils down to there'll be the whole ethical thing. There'll be money. All sorts of things here you can imagine. But you never know. But again, going back to what I was saying in the beginning, how for so long you've had the feminists saying women don't need a man, and all they really need is semen basically to have kids. Well, this potentially could make it that a guy, he wants children, he wants a son, he wants an heir to throw the football around the backyard and to, you get the point, be his legacy. Well, he may not need to get married and have to deal with these crazy chicks nowadays, because it seems like sadly they're only getting worse and worse every day. And this could be his future. And then, of course, if he needs some physical pleasure, there's the AI robots like Westworld. Who knows? Before it gets too crazy, I'll be long gone. Now, a few comments here. One guy says here, on the way to androgyny. Another guy says, as if we need to increase the human population. I wonder how much more disconnected children could become through these labs. Social media isolation will start from day one. A race of androids will be perfect for brainwashing. Yeah. That's a whole other concept. What's going through, what also in those lab babies is being programmed into their heads and all that. Another one says here, the fact is that building humans that behave like robots is far more probable than building robots that can think like humans. Biobots, if you like. Another one says here, some might say it's unnatural, but species evolve in different ways. Homo sapiens have placed their evolutionary trajectory towards the ability to learn, think, and invent like no other creature on this planet. Evolution has had to compromise on the anatomy on how we do this, leaving youngsters totally helpless for a long period of time compared to other animals. Not to mention the risk to the mother. So given the somewhat unique capabilities of our species, it's perhaps not surprising that we would try to eliminate the downside of our evolution. Perhaps even more excitingly, such technology might be used in preserving species at risk of going extinct, or transporting other animals as a compact embryo across space for the final development on a different planet. Hey, you never know. Another one says here, since the largest problem causing decline in fertility rates has nothing to do with fertility or infertility or lack of desire or ability to carry a child, but the lack of time, energy, and money to raise them. This won't solve much in regards to population replenishment. And last but not least, the guy says, people who are allegedly abducted by UFOs report pods growing human alien hybrids on the ship. Well, I've heard that one. I've seen diagrams of that one there. So there you go, guys. That'll be an interesting one to cover. You know, I usually do the regular stories on this channel, personal stories. But every once in a while, I like to throw an article out there about what's going on that in our crazy world, things that will impact men. And this definitely caught my attention this morning. So thank you to the bro that sent it to me. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Don't just think about this. Let's hear it. Would you use this? If this was the technology of tomorrow, would you embrace this if you want a son or kids or whatever? I'd like to hear about that. And also, guys, by the way, in case you didn't see my announcement, I started a brand new channel a couple days ago called SSM Clips. It's a channel that consists of clips from a lot of the videos I do on here and my other channel, They Did What. Some of the clips are minute long, 2 minute long, teaching clips, wisdom, all that, as other amusing type of things from the stories I cover, and exclusive, never before seen clips of short stories. They're not actually clips, they're short stories. Really good ones, just not very long that I come across. They're 4 minutes long, 5 minutes long. Definitely check it out if you haven't subscribed already. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.